Hello, everybody. What is up? We're going to get started here momentarily. We will allow people to filter in. Say hi in the chat. I will attempt to say hi as well. Make sure to check out the description for instructions on how to submit your designs. Hello, Yijit, I guess. I don't know. How do you pronounce that name? Let me know how that goes. Starting off with a difficult one right off the bat. Unreal. Jameli, hello. Norbert, I got that one. Yeah, I am tired. What is up, VS? I will just call you VS. Number 13. Ultra half, what is up? Yish, okay, easy enough. All right. Alrighty. So today we may not go a full hour. We might just do 45 minutes. So I'm just letting you know right off the bat. I am tired, and I got a busy day coming up. My kids are in a dance at the local mall. Yeah, just got crap to do. So if you're new to this, basically it's a live UI UX show where I simply review your designs and tell you what you could improve about your layouts, essentially. The way you submit, look at the YouTube description, and at this point, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna get through all of them that have been submitted already, but you can still try. If you want a better chance to, because I take these in order in which they're received in Discord. If you want a chance, make sure you go to the Discord server, you idle, and you join the stream ping role. And then when I announce it in the news, which is usually about 30 to 60 minutes prior to the stream, you could hurry up and submit your design. And then that way you're at the top of the queue. So yeah, that is that. All right, let's just get started right away, simply because this is not going to be a longer stream as usual. So let's read this person's comment. Made this for a hackathon I already submitted, but would like to get your opinion. Learn design fundamentals, watching your videos, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's check this out. This is for a hackathon, apparently. All right. So this type of design would be much more effective kind of like at a tablet size or a small desktop. As we could see, we get out here to this size and it's kind of just way too much white space. Now, there was some animation, but it stopped. I don't know why it stopped. You should continue that cool animation. I'm not sure why that stopped. But obviously, larger viewport, you want to boost things up quite a bit and continue this animation. Your topography over here in this hero section needs a little bit of work. I would like to see this one made white. So color white, and it's not working. It does say color white. What is there, an opacity on that? Because that doesn't look white to me. That looks like it's like dimmed out. But also in terms of white space, we'll probably want to take this button here, margin, top that, 2M units, and then also the font size way too small. So font size 1.3 rem units, padding, 2M units. No, not that much, 1.3 M units. That's a lot better than what we had originally. Probably want to move this down as well, and again, make things larger for this larger viewport. If I refresh, we'll see how small that original button was. We can see there's two containers here. There's a dark container, like almost black, if not black itself, and then this dark blue. But look at the little white space that's separating them where the first sub-headline or the headline starts, or this title right here. You want to push that way down, so margin top, or rather you probably use padding on the container, but like 5 M units, at least that, so you can have more white space. You don't want to put things that close up. Now, one thing I don't like is you're losing the rigidity, the rigidness of your container. We can see up here we have this fixed navigation, which is from left to right, right here. And then this stuff is all pretty much, for the most part, like these cards follow it exactly all the way to the left to the right. But then it's fine to have some things like this, like the pricing. If you only have 2 cards, it's fine to keep them in and you know, break outside of that left and right column. But when you have things like this, when you're once all the way to the left and right, this one's, you know, has a good amount of white space on the left and right, and this one has even more, and this one's kind of starting out. It's cluttered. It loses the strong sense of, you know, of a layout, essentially, when you have all these varying widths of content. So try to figure out how you can kind of expand on that and really keep as much as possible your right and left columns. All right, for a rating, I'm just going to give this one. Yeah, we'll do the rating. You guys can rate it first, and then I'll give you my thoughts. 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Let me know what you think. For the most part, I like the colors. I'm going to go ahead. I think there's quite a delay here. I'm going to go ahead and rate this one for what it is, based on like a 6.3. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Next up. Oh, by the way, I didn't spam you with my service. 23 days. It is releasing in 23 days. And that is DesignCourse.com, January 4th. All right, so the beta testers or the alpha or the pre-launch users, we have 430 of them essentially have been using it. Tons of modules have been completed already. We can see 5,255 modules. I've personally reviewed from the Mentor program 165 design submissions so far, helping people give feedback on their designs. So definitely check out DesignCourse.com. Enter your email to be notified when that releases, and you'll receive emails leading up to that. So it's basically a comprehensive way to learn UI UX design, not just in video format, but also interactive UI tests and design mentorship from yours truly. All right, so let's go back here. I'm going to save this for later. I'm going to show you like one of the final projects I'm teaching as a part of the curriculum. We did this in the live stream last time, just this top portion, but in the last week I've really been completing it. Subpages, design system. It's going to be responsive with tablet and mobile as well. Kind of accidentally deleted those two, but yeah, definitely going to be a big final project that's a part of this course. Let's get started. Continue on back to the submissions. Informational conference website. All right. Sorry I wasn't able to check out your CV just because I have a lot of other submissions to get to. All right. Can we also rate your hair? You go ahead and rate my hair, but anything less than about a 9, you might get kicked and banned. So I'm just kidding. Why do I feel like I've seen this before? Maybe I saw a very similar design. Yeah, so you want to make sure, based on the height of the device, that if you have such little content, you're centering it vertically, not just so that it sits up here, because you leave all this empty space and it's just like, you know, you don't like that. Also, in terms of an actual structured layout, this is lacking. Also, in such a big width here, you could see it's going to be hard for people, especially in a 4K resolution, for people to scan all this text. So you need to have, at a certain point, a container that's fixed in the middle. That way you don't run into this issue where you have really long lengths of text just because it's a bad issue for usability. So you want to look at that, and you also kind of want to just get different ideas in terms of how to structure a layout real well. You know, there's not too much here, and I think it could definitely be improved in terms of just, you know, creating a more cohesive layout rather than just kind of sticking stuff here in the center with 2 columns and then a call to action in the middle. So I would think about that. I'm not going to bother with rating just because there's not enough here, really, I think, to bother with that. I have to sneeze. Oh man, I've been sneezing crazy. All right. Agency website I recently did for a friend. The texts are written in Romanian. Well, let's translate that. Let's get it over here. Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the polygon background. This used to be real popular like in 2017, 2018. All right, so first things first, looking at the navigation of the logo, I used to be an identity / logo designer a long time ago. I think we could definitely improve the logo, and specifically the symbolism. There's just too much fine detail for a logo that's scaled that small. So ideally, you would really simplify this much more. Maybe just have the hat or something. So that's just a random thing to think about. I know this is a UI UX review. Looking at the rest of this, I do like the colors at first glance. I like the container or the card approach right here. It's designed pretty well, good white space. You might want to increase the visual hierarchy a little bit between these typographic elements right here. So like this right here, font size, we're using pixels, it looks like. Let's do like 2 rem, maybe not that much, like 1.6 rem units. That's going to be a little bit better. Now you're creating a stronger visual hierarchy between these two elements. You could even go further with the type. And for some reason, these are all in font elements. That should be one single paragraph element. So I'm not sure if you're using some type of website builder or something that's generating this code for you. You probably are. But you want to avoid that in order to have good, clean markup as much as possible. But here's a tip. For further increasing the visual hierarchy between these two elements, we can take the background it's sitting on and then just add a little bit of gray and a little bit of that color in there. And then that way we're making it a little bit better. So if I refresh, you'll see the original and you'll see how it just kind of loses structure between the title and paragraph a little bit. So I'll refresh right now. So notice that from the before and after. So definitely just consider that. Okay, one thing I don't like is centering the icon / label in this fashion. We have 2 columns and there's an invisible column going through here in the middle. And this would look much better and more structured if each one of these icons started like right here with a little bit of white space on the inside of that faint card, like 1, 2, and 3. It would work much better. Now you might even be able to structure these a little bit differently. Perhaps instead of 3 rows, maybe 3 columns right beside each other. So you can think about that. Things like this, maybe based on how your code set up, I wouldn't indent these. That's like an old school thing. And then also you would put white space between these 2 elements. There are these paragraphs rather. All right, not too bad otherwise. Let's do a rating for this. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I think the best part is up here, and then the quality goes down just a tad bit. So yeah, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me all know what you think. 7.2, somebody says. 8.5. I believe it's definitely above a 7. I'm not sure if I would give it an 8. I think I'm going to give it like a 7.3. Seems like most of you agree. How often do I do these reviews and how do we submit? Well, I do them usually at least 2 to 3 times per month, and usually Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. and how to submit. All the details are in the YouTube description. I'm not going to go over that specifically, but basically it means joining my Discord server. The link's there, and then you'll figure it out from there, hopefully. All right. My old and outdated portfolio got roasted hard and well-deserved on the roast edition. Yeah, that was a while ago. The head is still split in half, but my new portfolio is done. I would love to hear what you think. Here we go. Let's roast this guy. Let us just destroy this person. All right, let's refresh. So, whoa, what happened there? It kind of, oh, I think I know what's happening. This is like a little splash page, and it's on a set timeout, and then all of a sudden it just jumps. All right, so the first thing, that's going to be, look at the eyeballs. All right, so the first thing, if I refresh, this here I wouldn't do because you're giving me no direction, and like I'm trying to scroll down real quickly, and you don't have an indicator saying that, you know, it says loading or something. Like you should, like if you're going to do that, you know, here's the thing. I wouldn't advise having that page at all. I would advise just going straight to this. Now, in terms of the layout that I see here, this is interesting. I could tell you spent a lot of time on vectorizing yourself, and this section over here, it is very different, but if you stick with this, not enough white space on your headline up here. You're really squashed up here at the top, and you're leaving a lot of space right here. So I would probably move this situation over here, this illustration, to the right more, and move this down. Probably you would have, well, you wouldn't have to scale it down if this was moved to the right. And then also see my work. This is your primary call to action. You would put that right here. And then maybe when you scroll down, you can have like a see my work, like fixed area. One thing I also don't like, I've talked about this before, your primary navigation is right here at the bottom. Stick to conventions and stick this stuff to the top. If you wanted to, if you move this stuff down right here, the headline and everything, you know, this part too, you would have enough room to put project, skills, contact right over here. And that would be your primary headline. So definitely think about that. As far as the cards, I would like to see more white space on the inside of the cards. We can see this kind of like parallax effect. That's pretty cool. But more white space on the inside. And so that would mean making these a little bit smaller, the little laptop thing. I think I kind of remember maybe the design a long time ago, but this is definitely an improvement from what I recall. Again, the same situation as one of the entries before that I just did, like 2 or 3 entries ago. I would strongly suggest left aligning these based on the fact that, you know, it's in a 2-column layout. So left align these in these cards. And also you probably, for this background, what I would do, because these are pretty high contrast cards, is take the background color. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay. And make it just a bit darker. Yeah, right around there. I think that's a little bit better. It increases the contrast of the type that's sitting on top of it. So if I refresh this, we'll see, no, we won't see the original. I forgot there's this little strange thing that's happening. Yeah, you can see how much it's these cards stand out. I'm personally a fan of having low contrast cards. All right, your message, does that work? Okay, it's a floating label at least, so it doesn't go away. It wasn't just a placeholder value. It's a little interesting of a layout. I would probably opt to have your name, your email on the left column, and then your message on the right, simply because people are used to that pattern. They're used to filling in their name, their email, and then the message. Other than that, I'm fairly certain this is definitely an improvement big time from what you had originally. Pretty solid. So what do y'all think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Yeah, usually I have, you know, actual water bottles, but yeah, I got the bro jug, the gym bro jug right now. In terms of what's happening from the front end development side, ignoring UI, yeah, there's a lot of cool things here that are happening for sure. So I'd rate that pretty high. In terms of the UI itself, I'm probably gonna go with like a 6.8 or so, which it seems like you all disagree with me. But I think it definitely could be improved just from the specific aesthetic standpoint. All right, very, very good. All right, next up, my website. Well, let's just take a look at this right here. It's just a mock-up image. We have issues with, I would say, white space and primarily alignment. With this, notice we have two columns here. One for your headline, subheadline, and call to action, and also this little screenshot / illustration. First of all, one is way up higher than the other, so they feel disconnected. You want to try to get these things lined up more appropriately. Second of all, like if you move this up, this image, or move this down and move this up and try to like center it in the available space that you have, this right here, you would want to scale down a little bit because it would be too close to this column over here. So it's an issue of scale and alignment primarily in this context. This is a bit better in terms of the layout itself, although why not extend this area, the left portion of this card or this layout container, to the very left where this logo begins. Same thing where this login ends. I would extend it out because it's just too little of a difference, so why not extend it and just try to make it very cohesive right and left. But for what this is I like this better than the original portion. I can't go through all of these and all the designs though, but it looks pretty solid from what I see over here. It's not realized in HTML, CSS, so we're not gonna. I finished revamping the hero and would love to get some rating for the finished result. Did I just skip somebody? Calm down, Yasser. Sometimes, you know, it's never intentional. Oh, the destructive. I'm fairly certain I already reviewed this design. Somebody did the same thing. You're like, you didn't review my design. I went back and looked on my my video stream, and I reviewed it, and I linked them to it, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Because I've seen this design before. I have. But maybe I didn't review it. Okay, so I'll give a quick review here. Your cards need work because the alignment of the content inside the cards needs work. We can see clearly that some of them are positioned up, and you're not using your grid or your flexbox or whatever to get those vertically centered based on the space they have. Like look at batteries, it's all sitting up. So center all of that, you know, the parent container of these two elements in your HTML markup, center those. It'll look a lot better. Also, some of these icons are quite big. So we have this huge controller here, but then we have a small, massive computer here. So it's an inconsistent application. What I would do is probably pick out the most like the popular elements or categories that you have, and maybe just only feature in card format 4 to 5 of them. You're doing 6, so it's not leaving you a lot of space or a lot of white space to work with. Having 12 of them like this is just too much in my opinion. Then if you wanted to show the other categories perhaps in a different format, like in a link-based format, that would make more sense. Outside of that, looking at this section and this section, you're lacking, all you have is cards here. You should have like a featured product or something. That way you can break up the monotonous pattern-based layer that you have here with just 6 cards and a bunch of rows, 6 cards and a bunch of rows like that. So think about how you can integrate different layout sections to emphasize certain products that might be popular or to really emphasize a particular category that might be most popular. All right, so if I had to rate this, I would probably, for what it is, give it something like a 6.1 or something like that. All right, next up is my portfolio website. I don't know what this should be, right, to give the link over here for security purposes, but then I will also give the link for, okay, I don't even know what's happening, but let's just click here. Let us refresh. All right, so we have alignment issues here as well. We can see it's kind of fluid. Now you have a fixed container for most of your content, but not for this developer and designer section right here. So depending on, you know, right here it looks good because this is in line with each other, but then, you know, if we pull it out a little bit, it starts looking janky, wanky, wonky. It looks uneven, inconsistent columns. And that's one of the ways that you can break, you know, the flow of a layout and the quality of a design, essentially. So think about how you could try to make it so that developer and designer is always in line with this column that's established by your name / title / the logo, essentially. Coming down here, favorite projects. I like the "that's me" a little up arrow. All right, next up, Disney clone. All right, so these are projects. I like the hover-based transitions. If I were you, if you had more projects, I would put them here instead of just having 2. It's just going to speak to inexperience, essentially. You need to try to get at least 3 projects, and then maybe you could put them next to each other in 3 columns. That way, I mean, if you do only have two projects, making them consume, you know, this amount of layout probably does make sense, though. I like this down here. Not everything has to be in a card format. So this is pretty decent. I would probably style the links and color them a little bit. That way you create a good visual hierarchy between the two. So if I click here and we change the color, not that blue, obviously, what we do is grab the background and we'll go up. You could do something like that and also change the little arrow to the same color. That way it's structured a little bit differently, and this view repository button doesn't look so close to being styled as the little title or label. All right, what do you think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. I'm waiting. Come on. For me, I'm probably going to give this, let's see what happens to this though when we get that smaller size. Okay. Well, at least you figured out a way to make that work. For me, I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I would say favorite projects and latest code a little bit too large. I'm going to go ahead and give this a rating of, yeah, it's going to be like a 6.5 or so. I think most of you agree with this. All right. Woody Kim, I am interviewing for a junior UX this Tuesday. All right, well, I'm going to pretend that I'm your potential employer. I'm going to give you my thoughts here. Refresh. All right. So it looks like this is probably like a 3JS type of thing. What I don't like is the very out of your face. It's too much of an afterthought. Headline, subheadline, and call to action section. I would try to situate this 3D scene. Push it to the right so you kind of create 2 columns. So you can still have the same animation, just push it to the right, make sure it doesn't create scroll bars or whatever. Just position the 3D element in your scene to the right, and you'll give yourself enough white space over here to take this stuff down here that you've relegated way to the bottom. It's like way too much of an afterthought, and you can make it larger, make it stand out right here on the left column. Next up. All right, so things are too messy right here. notice how we have a section that's like this. You know what I would do is I would take this section here. Let's see what happens if I screw around with this. Sometimes things like this, when I try it, they don't break correct, but let's just do height, 100 viewport height. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, never mind then. But it would be cool to take this entire section and make it the height of the viewport. And in this case, it would consume this entire area, because right here you have a lot of things that are happening. There's animation up here. There's a 3D mock-up right here. There's another 3D mock-up right here, and it just makes it look way too cluttered. So either get rid of this image right here, or just expand it out to 100 viewport height or close to 100 viewport height for it to work a little bit better. Yeah, my whole problem with all this is just too cluttered, and just extending the height of these containers would work a lot better. There's some good things happening, but yeah, clutter is the big issue here. Rating, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me know what you all think this person should get. So if I take this and make it 100 viewport height, look how better that looks. Like if you're scrolling down, this looks so much better than how small it was and crammed up. This right here though, it looks like a single thumbnail. It looks small, it's kind of strange. Now it just changed somehow. This type right here, way too thin. So think about that. Probably gonna give this a rating of somewhere like a 5.8 or something like that. There's a lot of potential, but those sections were too clammed up together. So think about that. Resubmit if you're able to improve. Next up is a Figma prototype. All right, everybody. Before I get to this one, definitely check out DesignCourse.com. It's releasing in 23 days. You're going to be able to learn UI, UX design through video, interactive UI tests. You can click the play now game to see what that is all about. It basically helps develop your eye kind of like in a fun format, and also mentorship from me. So there's going to be around 15 different design challenges, and you submit a Figma prototype based on your attempt at that design challenge. I take a look at it within usually 3 days, and you'll get an email when I do, and I provide you feedback and also design iteration. So I look at your design and I say, okay, this is what needs to be fixed. Here's my version of what I would do. And so that's what's going to help many of you tremendously to become better designers, not just watching videos or doing other stuff, but actually receiving feedback. So you might be wondering, how much does it cost? How much will it cost? There's a base price of it's going to be, regular price is going to be $99 just to access the course, like the videos and the UI tests. And then if you want the mentorship, that's going to be around $29 per month, and you can cancel at any time. So this is actually really cheap when you compare like direct mentorship from an experienced designer. And you could probably get a bunch of challenges just within a 1 month period. So definitely check that out. Enter your email to be notified when that releases. All right, enough of the spamming you all, and let's continue on. Okay, looking at this, now sometimes Figma prototypes, yeah, they show that little line, like these white lines. That's not a part of the design. I can see we can make it go away. There it goes. Data seal, honestly, I think that should be black or something that stands out and contrasts a little bit more from this navigation right here. Sign up, okay, blah, blah, blah. Might want to, this is a pretty long section of text right here. Might want to condense that section a little bit more and then increase this little illustration that you have the size of so that you can create more of a balance. Oh, when will I be releasing the winner of the challenge? Yeah, we had a DesignCourse design challenge. I'm going to be doing that here within the next few days. All right, continuing on. Big problem with this, the scale of this type. I guarantee you that's probably like size 12. You want to get that larger for sure, because it's difficult for people to read, especially at this size. All right, pretty decent for the most part. On the other hand, I think we were using way too much blue right here though for the type. We have blue, 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 blue here, blue there, blue there, blue everywhere. I would try to break that up a little bit and not overuse your primary color that much. So what do y'all think this person should get for a rating? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Yeah, it's certainly okay to have a website redesign as a part of your portfolio, because chances are if you get hired by a company, they may already have a website. They want you to redesign it. So that makes complete sense. You don't need an entire case study. You don't have to have that. It's helpful though. All right. So I'm going to say for this one, upper 6s, like, 6.8 or so, 6.9. There's some good things happening here. So yeah, all right. My very first design ever, oh my God. I've already developed it in Webflow. I am a dental surgeon, so your thoughts are very welcome and very much appreciated coming from a relevant background. Maybe I can still make changes and transfer them into WF. Decided to go with darker theme because of the winter collection. That's the current collection. All right, very interesting. A dental surgeon. What? A dental surgeon's in my server doing UI design. Very interesting. Oh no. It says file not found. So let's click on this one. All right. This is the Webflow version. Just a side story about me. When I was like a teenager on computer all the time, well, I still am, I drank so much Coke, tons of Coke, like 6 cans a day of Coke. And yeah, I ended up with a lot of cavities. Fucking sucked. Okay. All right, let's check this. I'm reading the comments right now. Very cool image that we have here. Let's see what happens to this design if I squash it up a little bit. Okay. So I don't like the placement of the headline and subheadline. It feels like you have all this space up here, all this white space. I would center new arrival and this title right here, this headline, and then maybe even put the discover button underneath it and just center this. And you would also be able to make these much larger too with the space that you have. So that would be my first idea. And then second, this little sub nav up here is very difficult to read for 2 reasons. The type is too small, and then also there's not enough contrast. So you have a very light beige color with white text on top. So that would definitely not pass the WCAG contrast guidelines. But you know what? If this is your really first design, this is very solid, actually. Very solid. Especially like this section right here. Pretty solid for a first design. Little small things like inconsistent white space on the left versus the top. There's not enough here compared to right here. So you want to make sure things like that are dealt with quite well and they're consistent. This is all very solid. This is pretty decent here. Very decent. So yeah, for sure. One thing I don't like is the slightly extended tracking or the letter spacing. So I would probably just revert back to the normal there. The default tracking, that is. Yeah, this is solid. Yeah, I mean, if this is truly your first UI design, I'm impressed. Rating, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Yeah, I mean, it's making the person's eyes go there, but it seems like a huge afterthought. What you could do is reposition this person so that they're more to the left, like right here, and up higher. And then you would have more space in this column to make this stuff larger, and it would be up higher. So that would work as well. Yeah, if it's a Webflow template, then okay. I guess he didn't design it from scratch then. Oh, okay. This is the dentist said it's not a template. All right. Very cool. All right. I'm going to give this a rating of, yeah, this is definitely above a 7 in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of solid areas here. So I'm going to give this like a 7.3 or so. All right. Looks like most people disagree with me and want to rate it higher. I think I'm mainly looking at the hero section though. All right. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have enough time to check other sections because I got a lot of other people waiting, and I'm only doing this for how much longer? Where the hell did it go? Oh, right here. Yeah, probably about, it's already 41 minutes. Wow, so I might go a little bit longer. Let's continue on. Winston. You look like a Winston with the glasses and stuff. This isn't a mug. This is a 2-gallon jug of water. Okay. By the way, Dimitri, the dentist, surgeon, why are you doing UI design? You should be making all that big bucks being a dental surgeon. All right. That's not to say, you know what? I'm a big fan of having other things. I just got into archery lately. Very fun. I have a compound bow. I have a recurve now, which is a traditional recurve. It's much more difficult to shoot. There's no sights. I have a crossbow. I've been building out a, what do you call a kind of like a course in my woods because I have 6 acres. So much fun. All right. Anyhow, enough of that. So there's a problem with your topography here. Being there's just a little bit too much type, and also how it's kind of structured and laid out. Like for instance, this sub headline right here, you have 2 sentences, but for some reason they're on their own lines. They should all just be a single paragraph without a line break between them. I'm not sure how this is laid out. We have some BRs in here, breaks. There you go. So that's a little bit better. I'll probably get rid of solve your problem as well. So now we've simplified it more, but also this section in here, or where is it at? Yeah, this is too much. It's too much width. 70 viewport width. Let's change that to like 50. And then this one as well. I mean, even still, I think it needs to be even brought in more. Also, leading or the line height, way too close together. You need to increase the line height in your CSS property to something more so, because it's really just cluttered quite a bit. More white space inside of these cards. I do see you do have some padding. But again, your leading needs fixed here as well. More white space. Let's see what it looks like if we do that real quickly. So if we take this, we have padding of 30 pixels. Let's go like the 4M. That's a little bit better in my opinion than what you had previously. Good amount of projects, so that's good. And your form issue right there would be too difficult. It's a very light gray right here. and with the white text and a very subtle stroke on it, it doesn't contrast enough. So what I would do in this case is click on this, and your text field, I see we have a border. Let's make that a little bit darker, like that. You want it that much darker so that we can clearly see it. Also, name, and then the placeholder value of type your name here, I would get rid of that. You don't need that. So I think about that. Also okay, I see you did. You can barely make that maybe a 2 pixel stroke on there to make the focus state a little bit more obvious. And then also do a max width on this column because these are real long on this viewport. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Well, let me know what y'all think this person should get for a rating. Very cool. Joel, I would say, yeah, I mean, a lot of websites are similar. It's because, you know, users are used to patterns. So if you, I would say for the most part, you want to stick to those patterns for almost every project. Now, for a portfolio or something like that, you can break outside of that creatively. Or if you have a project that's meant to be very creative, you know, you can break outside of those norms, but only to an extent. Like, you don't want to make things hard for your users just for the sake of being creative. But you certainly can be very creative and not make a site that's cookie cutter. All right, for this one, I'm going to give this a rating of probably like 6.5 or so. I think you guys, for the most part, averages out right to there. Let's go back to Discord. It is... We've been streaming for, what, 47 minutes? We'll do maybe 1 or 2 more. All right. For this design, let's open original and see if we can get this to be a little bit larger, possibly. For this design, the thing I'm seeing immediately is the high contrast shadows. So if you're going to use drop shadows, try to make them a little bit more of an afterthought. When they come in to be like higher contrast like this, it's reminiscent of old school style design. You do need a little bit more structure right here where it says Sam and then golden retriever, blah, blah, blah. There's not much white space between these elements, and you could probably figure out how to create a more strong layout structure for displaying this secondary information. Also, mixing pill-shaped containers with absolute, corners like this with no rounded corners makes for inconsistent design. So stick with either or, in my opinion. And also more white space. This notify owner of your location is very close to this right here. You want to create more white space between your elements. All right, we won't bother with a rating for this. I do like this illustration right off the bat. I can see it has a grainy texture to it, which I like. Has very subtle animation between each individual elements. That's something we don't see enough of. Obviously, in a larger viewport, you want to scale these things out larger. Make it bigger, make this bigger. Because otherwise, if you're going to have this amount of white space, you can add texture to the background, like a very subtle illustrative watermark or something like that. So there's no scrolling down. I was expected to be able to scroll down. All we have is a call to action for GitHub, LinkedIn, and here. If you want people, I've talked about this before. If you want people to contact you, give them an actual page on your website where there's a form, because sometimes people might be on their phone, and like me, I don't really have an email client set up on my phone, so then there's no way for them to immediately be able to contact you. So have a form as well, and ideally don't just rely on GitHub to show your projects. I would actually create a section in this layout where you scroll down where people can see and be able to click on and access your projects from your website. All right. Again, not enough there to really mess with a rating. All right, we've been streaming for 50 minutes. All right, looking at this home portfolio. Kind of weird only to have 2 links there, especially one that just has home. For the most part, there's nothing that I see that's absolutely blatantly incorrect or wrong about this design. I think that's a pretty, what font is that? Railway, okay. The font weight's 700. I think that's more of a bolder font weight. Oh, that's line height. Yeah, so it seems like we're only stuck at this one font. I would probably make a lighter font weight for your paragraphs of text or sentences, just because it feels like everything's bold in this context. Same thing with here as well. But for the most part, I don't really see anything that's coming out that's is too incorrect. I'd probably want to like take these logos and kind of center them, you know, with equal white space from the bottom and top here. Probably move this whole left column up a little bit to be more in line and centered vertically based on this illustration right here. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. We'll give this one a quick rating. The plugin is called What Font. W-H-A-T, no space, font. So What Font, all one word. I'm going to do one more review. I'm going to give this a rating of probably just like 6.9. Yeah. I cut myself shaving, so there's like a freaking mark here. All right, let's do this one more. I think this is the next one, right? Wait, let me make sure, because I don't want to skip somebody and then they get really pissed off. Yeah, I like skipped. All right, okay. This is the next one right here. All right. It's a Figma prototype. All right, not sure how I feel about these big blocks right here. Not sure what the relevance is, and either. Yeah, I don't know if I like that too much. I do like the things on the side here, but might want to rethink what you're doing here. You know, you don't always have to have those cookie cutter illustrations that you see everybody have. I would like to probably, let me take this whole thing. I'm going to paste it in here. Maybe I can work with this real quick and we can create something different than what you have. So I kind of like that one, this setup or this arrangement a little bit better than the one that was originally here. Of course, we can go like this to make it extend exactly from, if I get a roller out and just pull this down, we'd want to make these all even with the very top and very bottom. So if we take this, move this here. All right, and then this right here needs to be adjusted. So this is too far, or too close rather. So we move these over, move these away from each other. I don't like having an about me right here. You only want to have like a primary call to action and a secondary. Also, we would want to adjust other things too about this. That was a little bit too close. So I'm just kind of having fun playing around with things just a bit. Control R, or Shift R rather, to get rid of that. So that's a little bit of an improvement, I think. You'd want this to animate right here. Maybe make these more of an afterthought. We could grab this, well, no. There we go. There we go. So create a little bit more. I think these that need to have a little bit more white space and be a little bit larger of buttons, but it's going to take me too long to sit there and design everything. We could do, let's do this. Forget Shift R here again. I'm having fun right now. I'm just, don't mind me. Yeah, something like that. So a little bit different. But anyhow, looking at the rest of this, oh, I do not like these icons. They just feel cheap with the gradient, like the dark going to, quite a different hue. Gradients are fine in my opinion as long as you're sticking around the same hue. When we're talking about like adjacent hues with each other. But when it's done like this, where there's a pretty stark contrast going from like, one extreme to the other like this, it's an older aesthetic. It's a dated aesthetic. Also, this amount of type, way too much. It's a big wall of text. You need to simplify that greatly, like by half, like get rid of half of that text, and then maybe just have a page where you can further elaborate if somebody wants to learn more about that. Also, yeah, you're gonna need to work on your topography a bit. These elements right here, these are too similar. Like these are styled exactly the same. There's nothing different, but they are semantically 3 different elements. So you need to figure out how to design or differentiate these elements more so. So what you could do is make this maybe 16. All right, and so now we've created, and also your alignment is off as well. And you could do a lot of different things with this, like to separate it a little bit more. Maybe we can put it inside sort of like a container. So if we send this to the back, maybe we'll grab this color, but we'll make it something like that. And then we'll take the little bit of a rounded corner, get this a little bit more squared up. So now we've created a nice visual like separation between this element, and this element, and that's called typographic visual hierarchy. And so I think that's definitely an improvement if we compare it to this. So if we look at this versus this, we have a lot more structure in this one right here. So learning about topography, very important. But yeah, that is it essentially. If I had to rate this, I would probably give it like in the 6s somewhere. But yeah, very, very cool. Thanks everybody for stopping by. One more quick note for those who just hop in a stream. In 23 days, releasing is DesignCourse.com. Learn UI UX in more ways than one. Video, user interface tests, which are interactive. They're a fun way to learn. You can actually play a game and try some of these out by clicking play now. Basically, the idea is there's some sort of design in each one of these tests, and you have to determine which fundamental is incorrect. So we have dozens of these tests in the main curriculum, and they just help you develop that eye. So like, what's wrong with this? I would say color. These colors, they don't really seem to match too well. There we go. So now you can see a before and after, but there's also something else wrong. What else is wrong about this? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Well, it could be one of two things. I think I have to fix this test because sometimes it could be ambiguous or a little bit subjective. We could say there's too much white space right here or just bad alignment. So what did I say? Yeah, bad alignment. So I'll get rid of white space as an option. And so now we can see a before, and then how do we fix it? By fixing the color and the alignment. And so there's tons of these tests. This is a free version, but we have dozens upon dozens of other ones in the main curriculum. And also, if I go back, mentorship. So design mentorship, where you submit a design based on 15, we're gonna have around 15 different challenges, design-based challenges, and they're not all like full website design challenges. Very few are. The final challenge will be a real, beefy, full web design challenge. But basically you submit a Figma prototype, I look at it, I copy it, and then I fix any areas that need to be fixed along with adding comments. So it's gonna help you all become great designers. I just realized there's not enough white space on that top container. Now I had somebody else deal with the HTML and CSS for this. It's actually based on Tailwind. I'm gonna tell them you gotta fix that, this whole container right here. Anyway, I'll see you all real soon with new videos, obviously. And yeah, the big launch is coming up. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot, and I will see you all soon. I gotta head off. I would normally talk in the chat, but yeah, make sure you head down to the Discord server. We're always hanging out there and talking.